want your own little annual pass.
She would be terrified. The first firework would go off. Whee!
Hey everyone, Dana Leslie back again for another video about Disney World and whether or not annual passes are worth it.
Thanks for joining us today. So we are gonna dive into everything that you need to know about annual passes and is it worth it for you or not? Because we've asked ourselves this question many times prior to moving to, just north of the castle. And sometimes it was yes and sometimes it was no.
The answer may actually surprise you. All right, before we get into that, we've been asked a lot about our tattoos that we recently got. We went on a little date night to Hardin Huntington, which is the tattoo shop over at City Walk at Universal Orlando Resort. We love that place. Ike did this entire sleeve and I went back to him. His name's Isaac Bills on the website and he did what I just got. It is Oogie Boogie with Lock, Shock, and Barrel, his sidekick. So I'm gonna do a whole villain sleeve. He's going to again do the entire sleeve. I have my next one here in a few weeks.
I went to Chris Edge and I got, so I previously had the castle and the partner statue with some watercolor on my hip. And I felt like there was something missing with it. And I've always wanted the tangled lanterns coming up from that. So I added that in, or he added that in. It was a painful evening, but it is gorgeous and I love it so much. And it actually looks like the whole piece was like done at the same time, I feel like.
It was a great time. Can't wait to go back.
Yes. Yep. I might wait a minute to go back, but yes, I will be getting another one probably at some point.
If you're new to this channel, we moved our family of 4 halfway across the country to live next to Disney World because we own a travel agency that specializes in Disney called Fantastical Vacations. We have a podcast. You might want to check that out too. Actually, the day this is dropping, we're doing a podcast on if annual passes are worth it, and we're probably going to go into it a lot deeper there because we have more time. But that's kind of what we're talking about today. There is a lot going on right now with Disney World annual passes. There are 4 tiers. One of them has been available for the last however long, just for Florida residents, but the other 3 tiers, including the one that you have to get if you live out of state, which covers probably most of you out there, those are now just being re-released for the general public on April 20th.
Yes, and so if you are a DVC member, you can purchase the Sorcerer Pass, which is one below that Incredipass, on April 13th. And so then you won't have to necessarily fight the crazy.
You have to be a DVC member that has benefits that are eligible for those special perks. So you have to have bought direct from Disney, or you have to have bought resale, but a long time ago before they made those changes.
Yes.
So let's get into this. There are going to be a lot of knee-jerk reactions, I feel like, as soon as these things get released, because they have been paused for so long and people are excited that they are actually coming back. But we wanted to take a little bit of a deep dive and examine, like, is this actually worth it? Because honestly, like, the highest tier pass, it's not worth it for us, and we're gonna explain why.
And I bet that a lot of those people, after they buy them, will realize that maybe it wasn't worth the money spent.
Before we get into it too much, we do have 2 things to mention that are specific to Disney World annual passes. The first is that beginning April 18th, so kind of coinciding with this release, Disney annual pass holders do not need to have park pass reservations if they attend a park after 2 p.m. starting April 18th. There are a couple asterisks here. If you're going to the Magic Kingdom on weekends, then you do still need a park pass reservation. So there's that. And then of course the blockout dates, which we'll get into, those also apply here.
If you are a Florida resident purchasing an annual pass, you can participate in a monthly paid program. This is called the Florida Resident Monthly Payment Program. It is $205 down with the rest spread out over that 12 months. So it does kind of help curb the cost a little bit for that initial upfront. If you are not a Florida resident, you do not have a payment program and you have to pay in full at time of purchase.
Yup. Let's talk about the tiers real quick. There are 4 tiers. We're gonna start at the lowest tier and work our way up. So of the 4 tiers, if you live out of state and you are not a DVC member, you have to buy the most expensive tier that is available to you starting on April 20th. You don't have a choice. So for our Florida residents out there, the Pixie Dust Pass, that is the lowest tier pass. It is $399 plus tax for the year per person. This basically is the least amount of availability to get into the parks for you. So it's basically most weekdays minus the weekdays that are around holidays. And so there are a lot of blockout dates, but it's only $400 a year plus tax. You also only have 3 park pass reservations that you can book at a time. And that becomes a little bit of a challenge if you go a lot like we do.
The next level pass is the Pirate Pass. This one is $749 plus tax per person, and it is also only available to Florida residents. Now this one, it adds weekends, but it does block out holidays, including the week-long holidays, Christmas, New Year's, Thanksgiving, spring break, Easter, that kind of thing. This pass, you can actually hold 4 reservations at a time.
The 3rd tier pass is what we have. It is the Sorcerer Pass. It is available to, yes, Florida residents, but also DVC members that live outside of Florida. And so this 3rd tier, they changed the name and they changed the tiers a little bit since COVID, but when we used to live in Oklahoma, this was also the pass that we had there, and we grandfathered it into what we have now. And that's why, because we are DVC members. We did buy resale, which is a whole nother video in and of itself, but we bought it a long time ago when those benefits were still available to us. We think that this is the most valuable pass for us, and we'll get into that in a minute. This one is $969 plus tax, which is still a very large number when you have a family of 4. So we do spread that out throughout the year. This one only blocks out 4 days around Thanksgiving and then the 2 weeks around Christmas and New Year's. So the rest of the year is pretty much open. We made the decision for us that since we used to do Thanksgiving with family, we wanted to not be in our permanent home during Thanksgiving week because we weren't ever gonna go back to see family on Thanksgiving, because we are gonna go back to see family over Christmas and into New Year's. We are never gonna be here on Thanksgiving anyway because we're gonna go do something else fun, and we're never gonna be here on Christmas because we're gonna go back and see family. And so it just makes sense to get this tier of pass for us.
You can hold 5 reservations at a time with that pass. So,
good point, yeah.
All right, so then finally, you have the Mega Pass. You have the biggest one of all. You have the one that's available to everyone out there.
It's not called the Mega Pass.
It is called the Incredi Pass. So this one is a whopping $13.99. That is $1,399 plus tax per person. You can hold 5 reservations at a time with this one, and there are no blackout dates, but you do have to have Park Pass reservations still, and that is all pending Park Pass availability.
Very important to know that because there's no blockout dates, you get the most popular days: Christmas, New Year's, Thanksgiving, Easter, all the big ones, all the big holidays where the parks are coming close or hitting capacity. However, to guarantee that you're going to get in, so like on the 50th anniversary, October 1st of a couple of years ago, that they hit capacity well before, you know, the day of, because all the park passes were gone. And so, especially for annual pass holders, like, you're gonna have to use one of those allocations, one of those 5. You're gonna have to use that for those special days if you want to go and make good use of your $1,399 plus tax in order to go on those holidays. So say goodbye to those park pass reservations throughout the year if you have to use like a couple for Christmas and New Year's if you're going that week in between the two. If you want to go Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve, Christmas Day, New Year's Day, that's 4 that you're probably going to have to schedule well in advance. I will say one caveat with all of this is those 5 Park Pass reservations, those do not include any Park Passes made while you're staying in a Disney resort. So those are above and beyond that. So if you do come Christmas through New Year's, you can stay in a Disney resort and get more Park Pass reservations on top of the 5.
And that goes for all of the tiers of the passes. So if you have a resort stay, then you're good. We're gonna get into, is it really worth it? But first, if you are looking to plan your next magical vacation, we would love to help you out. So we plan all Disney destinations, Universal Cruise Lines, and all-inclusive resorts. So please check us out over at fantasticalvacations.com.
Let's talk through some pros and cons of each, and then we'll get into the math on if it makes sense for you. Let's start with the pros.
The first pro is that you can still use a Fantastical Vacations advisor or any Disney or any travel agent that specializes in Disney vacations, because We can help you out with your annual pass holder rate rooms. We can help you out with VIP tours, all of those other things. And if you're not coming to World, you can always do Disney Cruise Lines and other things.
There are perks to having an annual pass that you don't get as a normal ticket holder. Now, to be clear, these perks are current as of April of 2023, and they can disappear at any moment. So don't bank on this. I would not buy an annual pass just to only have these perks, but it is important to know that they exist. So if you think that it might be worth it for you, this might push you over the edge if you're on the fence. Otherwise, you could probably ignore these. Number one is discounts on merchandise and dining. So you get a 20% discount right now on a lot of merchandise. That has fluctuated in the percentage in the past. And you also can get around a 10% discount at a lot of Disney food locations on just the food. So not any alcoholic beverages or anything like that.
You do get free standard theme park parking. So that is included with your pass, and which is really nice if you are staying offsite or if you're locals like us.
The last real pro for us is that it really gives you a lot of freedom in your trip planning. And this was the one perk that pushed us over the edge back when we bought APs years and years ago, was because whenever we bought a dated ticket, like a 4-day ticket, we would make sure that we were in a park rope drop to park close. Once we got that annual pass, but this was before park pass reservations, so that affects that, we were a lot more likely, because we had already paid for it for the year, kind of like a dining plan, right? You prepay, and then when you're in the moment, it doesn't matter if you eat it or not. But with an annual pass, you prepay, and then if you go to a park and you want to leave and take a 4-hour break, you've already paid for it. It's not like you're losing money because you have a dated ticket. And that was the one perk. Now, does it make financial sense? No, that doesn't make financial sense, but mentally, it just gave us a little bit more flexibility in our vacationing style.
Should we dive into the cons?
Let's dive into some cons.
So I think the biggest con is that it's expensive. I mean, if you don't live in Florida and you're not a DVC member, it's a lot of money to spend.
Number two is they can sell out at any minute. These things have been paused for a very long time, and there's a big old disclaimer on the Disney World website that says, yes, we're opening this on April 20th. Yes, they are limited. Yes, they can sell out at any minute. It is, I think, pushing people to make these knee-jerk reactions, which is why we're doing this video, which is why you really, before April 20th, need to really think through, does it make financial sense for you and your family?
Another big thing or downfall is that you won't be eligible for the best discounts that require full packages. So for instance, they just had that Dine Card promo for the summer where you had to have tickets and a room in order to get the Dine Card. Anytime that they've done free dining in the past, you had to have tickets and a room in order to get free dining. So that whenever they give those really kind of big discounted things outside of just a room discount, you have to have tickets included in your package.
Yeah, and annual passes do not count.
No, and if one person in your room has an annual pass, nobody in the room can get tickets added because everyone in the room has to have the same ticket.
So at that point, you're still, so even if just we got annual passes and didn't get them for the kids, and then we could come down for a couple of weekends, just adult trips, but then we took one big family trip, whenever we would book a package, we couldn't get any discounts. We would have to book a room-only reservation. We would have to use our annual passes and then book ticket-only for the kids. And that just becomes a big pain. There's no discounts involved in that because they're broken up into their own components. If you have any specific questions about that, you can reach out to any one of the Fantastical Vacations agents and they can walk you through that. Next con is that Memory Maker is no longer included with annual pass. This used to be included in annual pass. It is no more. It is $99 for the add-on. So now you're paying $13.99 plus tax plus $99 plus tax to get what you used to be able to get pre-COVID. That is unfortunate. It is important to know that not everyone in your family has to get the Memory Maker though. So for us, we have 4 Sorcerer passes, but only one of them, Leslie's, has Memory Maker associated with it because we're always together, and so we'll just use the same Memory Maker account.
You can add on a water park and sports option for another $99 plus tax per year. So if you think you're going to want to be able to go to the water parks as well, then it becomes $1,498 plus tax per person.
plus Memory Maker if you want pictures of the event.
Memory Maker.
In the last big con, and this was a major con for us and one that we had to really decide before we ever bought Disney Vacation Club, is because you are locking yourself into multiple trips per year to Disney World, nowhere else. These annual passes are only good for Disney World, not Disneyland, not any other Disney vacation. So you can't even do Disney Cruises, Adventures by Disney, Disneyland, Aulani. There are a lot of other Disney vacations that are out there that you can do, you're just not going to feel like you're maximizing the value of your AP. So while you have an annual pass and you're at Disney World, yeah, it is a little more freeing, and you don't have that, if you want to take a 2-hour break in the middle of the day, you're not thinking, oh my goodness, I only have 4-day tickets.
Right.
But conversely, if you are at home, wherever you're from, and you're thinking, man, we just got back from Disney World 6 months ago, I would like to take a vacation to a different location. In the back of your mind, you're gonna be saying, but I have an annual pass that I paid $1,400 for. I really need to go back to Disney World to make it worth the $1,400. So ask yourself, do you wanna come with your family to Disney World 2 to 3 times a year to make it worth it? So you have to ask yourself the question that we are here to understand, and that is it worth it? And the answer is...
it depends.
Because Disney sells tickets that are date-based, that are also discounted per day, the more days you have in a ticket package, you actually get penalized with a payback period the longer that you would stay in a vacation per day. I know that's confusing.
I'm sitting here repeating it in my head.
We have to ask ourselves, is what I would have spent on tickets coming to Disney World in 1 year going to exceed $1,399 in taxes? Now, if you think, oh, I'm gonna go to Disney World for 10 straight days and have 10-day tickets, that's great, but the cost per day for 10-day tickets is much less per day than the cost per day for a 1-day ticket. A 1-day ticket might cost you $150, whereas a 10-day ticket might cost you like $800, $700, probably $800, somewhere in there. So instead of $150 a day, you're paying $80 per day. So the more you stay in one trip, the more tickets that you would have bought otherwise, it's actually lowering the payback period. So you would have to stay longer and more times.
Another thing to consider is, when are you going? Because there are times a year that the tickets are not as expensive comparatively to, say, like Christmas and New Year's, whenever it's going to be probably higher priced, or Easter, like those holiday times, whenever the demand is highest, those ticket prices go up. And so if you are not planning on traveling during those times anyway, then you're going to have to go more in order to pay back those annual passes.
So let's look at a couple of examples and do just a little bit of math. We are going to look at out-of-state travelers, because that's primarily who we're talking to. I think a lot of Florida residents already have annual passes. And so we are looking at a family of 4 that is traveling from out of state that would have to buy the $1,399 annual pass plus tax times 4. Compared to a couple of different options that they may have purchased instead if they were buying packages with tickets associated with those packages because they didn't have an annual pass.
The cost of the Incredipass for 4 people at $1,399 plus tax, which our tax here in Florida is 6.5%, then that total is going to be $5,959.74.
So let's compare that first to the cost of a 10-day park hopper, because these passes are park hopper tickets. So a 10-day park hopper ticket for that family of 4 beginning June 1st, 2023. So this is a little bit cheaper time of year to go. The cost of that is $3,325.72. So you are somewhere just above half of what it would cost. So already you can kind of see that you're gonna have to come at least a couple of times a year to Disney World to make it even break even for you. Now the cost of a 10-day park hopper ticket beginning December 21st, so that would be going through Christmas Eve, through Christmas Day, and through New Year's Eve, which is the most expensive week to come to Disney World. For those 4 people with taxes, $3,880.44.
Now let's talk about doing the cost of tickets for like 2 vacations.
Because you're not gonna make it up in one vacation.
Yeah.
It's just not gonna happen.
So I would say that the average days that typically people book is 4 days, right? So that's what we typically did. We would do 4 or 5, so we're going with the 4-day option.
Because there's 4 parks, right?
So if they did 4-day park hoppers beginning June 1st, 2023, that total cost would be $2,663.56. And then doing a 4-day park hopper beginning December 23rd, so once again, we are coming during Christmas, it is going to be $3,098.04. So the total for both vacations is coming in at $5,761.60. So we are still right at like $200 shy of making the annual pass worth it.
Let's think about that for a second, because that is a lot of math right there. And let's just break it down. So for a family of 4, if you have 2 weeks of vacation, you would have to spend the entire 2 weeks of vacation here at Disney World, and you still wouldn't break even in a given year. Normally, a week's vacation looks like 2 travel days on the ends, and then 4 park days, and then a rest day somewhere in the middle. And that is your 7 days, right? And so with those 4-day park hopper tickets, 2 weeks, 1 in June and 1 around Christmas, you've spent your entire vacation allotment, and you still haven't come up to the cost of what it would cost to buy 4 Incredipass tickets, annual passes for Disney World.
Whew.
I mean, it takes a lot of time coming down here. So basically what we're saying is you have to come at least twice a year. Maybe if instead of buying 4-day tickets, you were gonna buy 5, 6, 7-day tickets, you will definitely make up those couple of $100, but you definitely need to make sure that that's what you would have done anyway. You're not just talking yourself into, let's go ahead and buy the Incredipass because we could get an extra few days. If that's not what you would have bought anyway, then it's not worth it.
And conversely, we know people that come often, much more often, maybe 6 to 8 to 9 times a year, but they're only coming for a weekend. And so they're doing 2-day passes at a time. And so depending on, you just need to look at what your family, how you would travel and how it breaks down into cost and what makes sense.
The bottom line is you need to make sure that you are comfortable committing yourself to 2 vacations or more at Disney World per year to make up this ticket. Now, I will say that if you are a DVC member, you've already committed to coming to at least a couple of vacations a year, so that's done. And you can buy the 3rd tier, that Sorcerer Pass, for just under $1,000 plus tax per person. Then it becomes a lot more worth it because you've already committed, you're saving $400 a person, and you're saving the cost of paying, you're never going to try and get those package discounts anyway because you're booking rooms on points anyway. So that is out of the equation. That's where it's really worth it for us. And that's how we made our decision.
Yep. I hope that helped and that the math wasn't too confusing. And if you are liking these videos, please hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss the next one.
And we will see you on the next video.